All right, today we are diving into something absolutely fascinating, the rise of false messiahs. We're going to unpack the political playbook, a kind of recipe that people have used throughout history to claim they're divine, all in a bid for power. And we're doing this based on the incredible work in the book Mehdi Darugan, or False Mahdis.
I mean, just think about that for a second. It's a huge question, right? This incredible, profound hope for a savior is one of the most powerful forces in human history. But that very hope, that deep, desperate desire for justice, well, that's exactly what can be twisted and used as a tool for political gain.
This idea of a messianic figure, it's not new, and it's definitely not limited to one faith. We're talking long before Islam, in Judaism, in Christianity, even in Zoroastrianism. There's this constant, deep-seated human longing for someone to show up, fix a broken world, and finally bring about justice. It's a story we've been telling ourselves forever.
Now, in Islam, this figure has a specific name, the Mahdi. The term itself literally means the guided one. And the belief is that he's a prophesied redeemer who will come before the end of the world to wipe out evil and fill the earth with fairness and justice. He is the ultimate symbol of that hope we were just talking about.
And this is where things get really interesting. This is the pivot. We go from a pure spiritual idea to how it gets used and abused in the real world. Because throughout history, this powerful concept of the Mahdi has been grabbed by people with very earthly ambitions, giving rise to what our source calls the false Mahdis.
So, what's so wild about all this is that these claims aren't just random delusions. Not at all. They actually tend to follow a very specific pattern. It's almost like there's a recipe, a political and social playbook for convincing everyone you're the chosen one. And we can actually break that recipe down.
So, what's in this recipe? Well, it pretty much boils down to three key ingredients we're going to look at. First, you need a world that's falling apart. Second, you need to know the playbook of persuasion inside and out. And third, you need that one charismatic person to pull it all together.
Okay, ingredient number one. You need the perfect storm. These kinds of movements almost never pop up when things are peaceful and prosperous. Nope, they are born from crisis. They thrive when society is breaking apart and people are absolutely desperate for a hero.
So, what does that chaos look like in practice? Well, the source points to a few key conditions. You see a ton of apocalyptic books and pamphlets getting passed around, predicting doom and gloom. You have intense political turmoil, maybe even war. Society feels unjust, corrupt, and like it's in a total moral freefall. When people feel that lost and hopeless, they become the perfect audience for anyone promising a miracle.
But okay, a world in chaos isn't quite enough on its own. The wannabe messiah needs a game plan, a playbook of persuasion to really sell it to the masses. And that brings us to ingredient number two. And this is where it gets incredibly clever and kind of cynical, to be honest. The source lays out this whole toolkit of manipulation. Claimants will cherry-pick ancient prophecies and twist them to sound like they're talking about right now. They'll use their own dreams and visions as proof of a divine link. They might use stuff like numerology and astrology to create what looks like mystical evidence. A classic move is claiming to have secret, ancient books nobody else has seen. And yeah, some even use simple magic tricks or sleight of hand to fake miracles. This line from the source material just sums it all up perfectly. It really shows how cold and calculated the whole thing is. This isn't about some divine calling. It's about market research. It's about finding the right message for the right people at exactly the right moment of desperation. So let's dive into some history, because I want to be clear. This isn't just some abstract theory. No, this is a historical pattern that we've seen play out again and again and again for over 1,400 years. Across totally different cultures and continents. So let's go all the way back to one of the first and maybe most important examples, Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya. He lived way back in the 1st century of Islam, and the claims that were made about him really set the stage. They created a kind of prototype, a template that would be copied for centuries. And just look at how this playbook echoes through the centuries. It starts early on, with followers of Ibn al-Hanafiya claiming he didn't die, but just went into hiding, destined to return. Then you see it pop up again with Ubayd Allah, who actually built the massive Fatimid Empire on this claim. Then with Ibn Tumart in North Africa. And it just keeps going, all the way up to Muhammad Ahmad in 19th century Sudan, leading a huge anti-colonial war. The same story, over and over. Okay, so let's just put two of these side by side separated by 1,200 years. It's really incredible.
For Ibn al-Hanafiya, the chaos was the brutal aftermath of a civil war. The playbook was this idea of him being in hiding, which gave political legitimacy to a rebellion. Now flash forward to the 1800s in Sudan. The chaos was harsh foreign rule. Muhammad Ahmad used the same playbook, prophecies, dreams, piety, to rally a massive army. The goal? A purified state free from foreigners. It's the same script, just with different actors and a different set.
Now, it would be real easy to look at all this and think, okay, fascinating, but that's all ancient history. Well, you'd be wrong. This whole phenomenon is alive and well, right now in the 21st century.
Get ready for this number. It is absolutely staggering. According to one report cited in our source, there have been around 3,000 people in Iranian prisons alone who have claimed to be the Mahdi. This isn't some quirky historical footnote. It is an ongoing modern-day issue.
And we've seen this playbook pop up in major modern flashpoints. In 1979, the world was stunned when a group seized the Grand Mosque in Mecca, declaring their leader the Mahdi. After 2003, the power vacuum and chaos in Iraq became the perfect breeding ground for a whole wave of claimants. And even today, smaller claims are constantly bubbling to the surface, proving that as long as there's chaos, someone will be there to try and exploit it. So, at the end of the day, it all comes down to this one really tough question. This whole thing exists at this blurry, complicated intersection of genuine, deeply held faith and the raw human hunger for power. And it just forces us to ask, where exactly do you draw that line? There's no easy answer, but it's a question we have to keep asking to understand our world.